I was 28 when it finally clicked, not in a light bulb moment kind of way, but more like that slow, creeping realization that something you brushed off your whole life was actually a huge red flag waving in your face. My name's Justin, and if you've ever had parents who play favorites, you'll understand exactly what I mean. It wasn't always obvious. Growing up, I had what looked like a normal suburban family. Dad worked in construction management, Mom ran a home baking business out of the kitchen, and my younger brother Tyler, the golden boy, was the gifted one. He got the trophies, the praise, the bigger slice of cake at every birthday. Meanwhile, I got told to be quiet so Tyler could concentrate. That was the dynamic. Always has been. It wasn't like they hated me or anything. That would have been easier to spot. It was more that I was expected to be the one who made things easier. Tyler, on the other hand, was always going through something. Too stressed from school, too tired from football practice, too sensitive to handle confrontation. When he got a C on a test, Mom said the teacher must have been unfair. When I got an A, Dad said I was supposed to because I was the older one. I don't remember a time I got praised without it being immediately undercut by a reminder that I should be setting the example. Even now, at nearly 30, that same attitude still lingers like a sour smell you can't scrub out. I moved out at 22 and started working in digital marketing, not glamorous, but I got good at it fast. Within a few years, I was freelancing full-time, traveling a bit, saving up. I didn't broadcast my income to my family, but I guess they noticed. Tyler stayed home through college and then just never really launched. He hopped between jobs, tried his hand at crypto for a while, got burned, and then spent 2 years figuring himself out. My parents funded his experiments, always saying, he's just trying to find his passion like any young man deserves to. I kept my mouth shut. I'd stopped expecting fairness a long time ago. Then came last summer, the first hint that something was really off. I got a call from my bank while I was working on a campaign deadline. They asked if I'd authorized a $3,000 charge to a luxury travel site. I hadn't. My card was in my wallet. I froze, thinking I'd been hacked. I pulled up the app and saw 2 more pending transactions, one for $600 and one for $1,200, all from travel agencies, all within the past hour. My stomach dropped. I shut the card down immediately, reported the charges, and asked for an investigation. They told me they'd follow up. Later that night, I was on the phone with a friend ranting about the situation when I got a text from my mom. It was a photo. Tyler standing in front of 2 massive suitcases, grinning ear to ear. The caption read, "Our boy's off to Europe. First class all the way." I stared at it for a second. My heart dropped. No, there was no way. I called her immediately. She picked up on the second ring. Chipper. "Hi, sweetie. Hey, Mom, where did Tyler get the money for a first-class ticket to Europe?" She paused. Just a beat. "Oh, well, we just helped him out a bit. He's been under so much pressure." My voice stayed calm, but my jaw clenched. "Did you use my card?" Another pause. "Justin, please don't make this into a thing. It was just sitting there, and you never mind when we use it for small stuff. Tyler really needed this. You're always saying how important it is to take mental health seriously." I had to walk into the kitchen and grip the counter. "You stole from me." She laughed. "Stole? Justin, don't be dramatic. You make good money, and we were going to pay you back. Eventually." I don't even remember what I said after that. I think I hung up. I know I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch staring at the dark ceiling, playing the conversation over and over again, like if I could rewind it far enough, maybe I'd see the moment things changed. But they hadn't. Not really. This was just the latest version of the same old story. Only now, it had numbers attached. The next day, I tried calling Tyler. No answer. I sent him a simple message. "Did you know they used my credit card to pay for your trip?" He read it. I saw the little seen notification, but didn't reply. I followed up with another text. "You're literally committing fraud." Nothing. That silence, more than anything, lit the fuse. I wanted to go to the police, but I knew how that would play out. Family charges family, everyone loses. Plus, it wouldn't just blow up my relationship with them, it would blow it up publicly. And I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. So I decided to wait. To watch. To let them think I was going to roll over, like I always did. My bank continued investigating, and I told them I had a strong suspicion who did it. I didn't lie. I gave them the whole story. Meanwhile, my parents kept posting updates like nothing happened. Tyler just arrived in Paris. His dream trip. Lunch in Rome tomorrow. Thanks to everyone who supported this. Supported. Like it was some kind of GoFundMe. I started to realize they were actually proud of what they'd done. Proud of taking from me. And that's when something in me cracked. Not in an angry, screaming way. In a quiet, calculating way. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the passive older brother who just had to swallow it. I felt like someone who could do something about it. What I didn't tell them was that one of the charges they'd made hadn't gone through. A pending itinerary for a return flight with an attached travel insurance plan. The moment I saw it still listed under my old login credentials on the booking site, I started planning. Not just for the money, for the principle. For all the years I was the afterthought. And that, as they say, was just the beginning. I didn't block them. That would have been too easy, too final. I wanted them to see me watching, to feel that chill in the air but not know where it was coming from. Like a storm building on the horizon that hadn't struck yet. So I kept things quiet. I sent one last text to my mom. "We'll talk when you get back." She hearted it. Like I'd just agreed to bring dessert to Sunday dinner. Tyler never replied at all. Over the next 2 weeks, their social media turned into a travel blog. Dad never posted much, but Mom? She documented everything like a proud stage manager. Photos of Tyler sipping espresso in Venice. Smiling selfies in front of the Eiffel Tower. A video of him being served champagne before takeoff, with a caption, "Our hardworking boy finally gets a break." That one hit me in the gut. Hardworking? Tyler hadn't held a job for more than 6 months since graduating. He spent most of last year exploring YouTube as a platform, which basically meant gaming in his bedroom while I paid for his Netflix and Spotify accidentally left on my accounts. It wasn't just the favoritism anymore. It was the entitlement, the erasure. In their version of reality, I was a background character who owed Tyler the spotlight. I thought about how I used to save up for my own field trips in school while Tyler got new shoes because his feet were still growing. I remembered the time I got into a car accident driving him to a party and my dad yelled at me for not being more careful, even though Tyler was the one who insisted I take the back roads in the rain. I remembered every Christmas where my gifts were socks or a useful charger while Tyler got AirPods or a custom gaming chair. And now, they were using my money to send him on a luxury vacation because he deserved it. The real punch came 5 days into their trip. I was working late when I saw it. A photo of my old Amex card. It was half covered by a napkin on a marble table, a fork resting on the side, and a cocktail next to it. At first, it didn't register. Then I zoomed in. That was my card. I hadn't used that design since 2021. They must have pulled it from an old wallet I'd left at their house. The caption? "When your son knows how to treat his parents right. Hashtag blessed, hashtag family trip, hashtag first class." My hands went cold. They were bragging. I hadn't told the bank to freeze the account yet. I was still weighing my options, trying to see how deep this would go. But now they were framing me as the generous older brother who paid for everything. Mom's friends were commenting things like, "You raised such kind boys, and this is what family is all about." And she was replying with heart emojis. Tyler even posted something on his own account, a rare thing for him. A photo of him on a yacht-looking boat in Monaco with the caption, "Finally getting what I deserve." That was it. That line. That smug, flippant line. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even pretend to try. I laid on the couch with the TV on mute and my laptop in my lap, scrolling through receipts, screenshots, emails. I filed a formal fraud report with the airline. I added all the screenshots as evidence. I requested a hold be placed on all active travel bookings tied to my old card. I confirmed the return flight details using the login they hadn't bothered to change. I activated two-step verification. I flagged the insurance claim attached to the ticket. I did everything by the book, calm, precise, patient. I didn't want a refund. I wanted accountability. But even then, some part of me still hoped they'd call and apologize. Admit it was wrong. Try to make it right before the hammer dropped. That maybe this time would be different. It wasn't. 3 days later, I got a voicemail from my mom. She sounded annoyed. "Hey Justin, quick thing, can you check your card? It's saying the return flight got flagged, and we're having issues checking in. I know you canceled the card already, but we thought the booking would still go through since it was pending. It's kind of urgent. Call me." No apology. No acknowledgement. Just panic, because their house of cards was tilting. I didn't call back. I just listened to the next voicemail. "Tyler, this time." "Dude, what the hell? You froze the flight. Are you serious? Do you know how screwed we are right now? This is our parents we're talking about, not some strangers. You're acting like this is some huge betrayal. Just fix it, all right? Before things get worse." Before things get worse. Like I was the one crossing a line. Later that night, my aunt messaged me on Facebook. We hadn't spoken in years, but her message came out of nowhere. "I know you're upset, but they're stranded in Germany now, and it's really not a good look. Justin, please think about your family." That did something to me. Something cold and final. I didn't respond to her, either. 2 days later, I got a call from the fraud division of the airline. They launched an internal investigation due to the flag purchases and suspicious identity mismatch. They asked if I knew the passengers listed. I told the truth. Yes, they were my parents and brother. No, I hadn't authorized the charges. Yes, I believe they'd accessed my card without permission. They thanked me and said they'd be in touch. I never asked what happened next. I didn't have to. Instead, I sat back and watched the storm hit. Their social media posts stopped. No more cappuccinos in Florence, no more boat selfies. Silence. I waited 3 days before checking again. Then I saw it, a single post from Mom. A blurry photo of a terminal, captioned, "We are safe, but extremely shaken. Some people will go to unthinkable lengths to hurt those who love them. Pray for our family." That was rich. I didn't say anything publicly. I didn't comment, didn't message, didn't call. I just logged out. Let them sit with it. They hadn't spoken to me directly since Tyler's voicemail. Not even a text. It was like I'd gone from golden goose to ghost in a single move. But the real breaking point came 2 weeks after they got back. I was at home, folding laundry, when I heard a knock. Not a buzz from the apartment entrance, an actual knock at my door. I live on the 3rd floor, which meant someone either got buzzed in by another tenant or followed someone up. It was my dad. He stood there with his arms crossed, wearing his old construction jacket and that same squint he used to give me when I'd forgotten to take the trash out. "We need to talk," he said. I didn't invite him in. I just stepped outside and closed the door behind me. He didn't waste time. "Your mother's been a wreck. Tyler's barely talking. You could have handled this like a man instead of like a man." I cut in, trying not to raise my voice. "A man who just lets his own family rob him and say thank you?" He bristled. "They didn't rob you. It was your brother. He needed help." "No," I said flatly. "You all made a choice. You knew exactly what you were doing. You planned a luxury trip, used my money without asking, posted about it like it was some gift from your perfect son, and then acted like I was the problem when I said no." He looked away, jaw tight. "You embarrassed this family," he said finally. "There were other ways to handle it." "Yeah," I said. "Like not stealing from your own kid." We stood there in silence. For a second, I thought maybe something would break through. Maybe he'd let go of that pride, apologize, meet me halfway. But instead, he gave a bitter little laugh. "You always thought you were better than us," he muttered. "Always had that attitude. Well, congrats, Justin. You win." Then he turned and walked off. I watched him go. I didn't say another word. He was right about one thing, though. This wasn't over. The days that followed my dad's visit felt hollow in a way I hadn't expected. I thought I'd feel triumphant, like I'd finally stood up for myself and drawn a hard line after a lifetime of being treated like a backup plan. But the truth was quieter. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten me. He just dismissed me. Like I was petty. Like I'd overreacted. Like I was the one who'd hurt the family. And for a few days, that ate at me more than I wanted to admit. I'd grown up craving approval I'd never get. But even now, part of me still wished for it. Not a parade. Just recognition that I wasn't being unreasonable for asking not to be stolen from. But they couldn't give me that. Wouldn't. And accepting that, really, truly accepting it, was the hardest part of all. The silence became deafening. No more texts. No calls. No passive-aggressive group messages. It was as if I'd been voted out of the family without being told. Tyler posted something vague about cutting out negativity and choosing peace. Mom uploaded a photo of an empty dining table with the caption, "Not the same without all my boys." Like I was the one who had disappeared. Not a single one of them reached out to apologize. Not even when the bank froze the accounts tied to the stolen card. Not even when I filed the final fraud report. The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was the way they acted like it wasn't betrayal. Like it was no big deal. Like I should have smiled and let them walk all over me again, just like old times. That's when the crash came. I started working later and sleeping less. I wasn't crying or spiraling or anything dramatic. I was just numb. I'd open a document and stare at the blinking cursor, unable to focus. Projects that used to excite me now felt tedious. My motivation dipped. My creativity dried up. And slowly, my work started slipping. I missed a client deadline for the first time in over a year. Then another. One client ghosted me without even asking for a refund. Another sent a polite email saying they'd gone in a different direction. I couldn't blame them. My calendar dried up. My inbox got quiet. I stopped replying to the few friends who checked in, always thinking I'd respond later. But later never came. There was one night in late October where I sat at my kitchen table in the dark with a plate of reheated rice and nothing else. No meat, no sauce, no veggies. Because I hadn't gone grocery shopping in a week. I wasn't broke, but I felt poor in a different way. Emotionally bankrupt. Like all the work I'd done to build my independence didn't matter because my own family still saw me as expendable. A resource, not a person. That night, I almost called my mom. I don't even know why. I just missed something. Not them, maybe, but the illusion of family. The fantasy I'd held on to that someday, if I just worked hard enough, they'd be proud of me. I didn't make the call. Instead, I opened my laptop and stared at my own website. It was outdated, cluttered, full of case studies from 2 years ago and broken links I hadn't bothered to fix. It looked like someone who was trying to appear successful, not someone who actually was. And it hit me. I'd been working so hard to prove something to people who never once asked how I was doing. Just what I could provide. I closed the site, got up, brushed my teeth, slept. The next morning, I started over. It wasn't some dramatic movie montage. It was just me, sitting at my desk at 6:45 a.m. with a mug of coffee and a blank notebook. I wrote 2 things at the top of the page. 1. No more waiting for permission. 2. No more proving anything to anyone. That became my daily reminder. Every time I sat down, I'd read those 2 lines. And little by little, I started to come back to life. I revamped my entire business model, moved away from one-off freelance gigs, and started researching passive income strategies. I spent 2 weeks learning how to build online courses. Started outlining one based on my most requested skill, ad copy and digital funnels. It was slow work, but for the first time in months, it felt mine. No client breathing down my neck. No deadline hanging over me. Just me, building something for myself. I also started journaling. Not like Dear Diary stuff, but reflections. Processing what happened. Writing down every memory of favoritism. Every time I was asked to sacrifice. Every moment where Tyler's comfort was prioritized over my boundaries. It wasn't about bitterness. It was about clarity. Seeing the pattern. Naming it. Reclaiming it. I reached out to an old colleague, someone I'd helped early in their career. They were running a growing marketing agency now and were hiring for a course consultant. We hopped on a call, just a casual catch-up at first, but by the end of the week, they offered me a retainer contract to help build their lead funnels. The money was good, but more than that, it felt like a door opening, one I hadn't even known was there. I also cleared out my apartment, got rid of the half-broken bookshelf I'd been hauling around since college, tossed clothes I hadn't worn in years, donated all the family knickknacks, framed photos, holiday mugs, things I'd kept out of guilt or nostalgia. I kept one picture, though, a small one of me at age 10, holding a soccer trophy with a crooked smile. Tyler wasn't in it. Neither were my parents. Just me. Just that moment of joy. I put it on my desk. About 6 weeks after my dad's visit, I got an unexpected call. It was my Uncle Dave, Dad's younger brother. We'd never been especially close, but he was always the quiet one at family events, the one who'd slip me a wink when Tyler was hogging the spotlight. I answered, a little wary. Hey Justin, he said, his voice low. Listen, I probably shouldn't be calling, but I just wanted to say, I heard what happened. And for what it's worth, you did the right thing. I didn't say anything at first. Just sat there with my heart pounding. I know your dad's stubborn, he continued, and your mom's got her blind spots. But what they did wasn't okay. And I think deep down, they know it. They're just too proud to say it. Thanks, I said, finally, my throat tight. That means more than you know. We talked for a while. Not about them, about life. Work. Travel. He told me about a trip he took to Iceland last year and recommended a book he'd read. It was the first time in months I'd felt connected to someone in my family without it being transactional. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet and realized something. The fallout had felt like a collapse. But maybe it was just a clearing. A few weeks later, my course launched. Nothing flashy. Just a simple landing page, a few video modules, a drip email campaign. I priced it low at first, just enough to gauge interest. Within 3 days, I had 47 signups. Then 89. Then 140. People were finding value in my knowledge. Strangers were thanking me. I got emails from new entrepreneurs saying they finally understood how to market themselves. It was surreal. And for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't doing it to earn love. I was doing it because I loved it. Around Christmas, I got a card in the mail. No return address. Inside was a generic holiday greeting and a single handwritten note. We're not ready to talk, but we hope you're well. Merry Christmas, Mom and Dad. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just placed the card in a drawer and went back to icing cookies for a holiday Zoom party I was throwing with a few online friends. People I'd met through the course, through mutual projects, through honest connection. No expectations. No guilt. I still don't know if I'll talk to them again. Part of me wants to. Part of me doesn't. But I know this. I won't do it as the version of myself who tolerated everything just to keep the peace. If they want to come back into my life, they'll meet the version of me who knows what he's worth. The first time I realized I didn't want an apology anymore was in early February, 2 months after the card incident. I was sitting in a co-working space downtown, halfway through editing a new lesson module for my second course, when I got a Facebook message from my cousin, Rachel. We hadn't spoken in a while, mostly because she lived 3 states over and rarely came to family gatherings. But we'd always gotten along. She was one of the few people in the extended family who never treated Tyler like royalty and me like an afterthought. The message was simple. Hey, you okay? Your mom's been telling people you're going through a breakdown. Thought I'd check in. I stared at it for a solid minute before typing back. I'm not. I'm thriving. What? She's been saying you're having money problems and taking time off to heal from burnout. Said you lashed out, and it was a cry for help. She left out the part where they used your card to fly to Europe. I felt the heat crawl up my neck. She told people I lashed out? Yeah, at Christmas. Said you blew up over something small. Nobody really probed. You know how they are. I did know. My family specialized in strategic silence. Anything uncomfortable got flattened under vague phrases like he's just going through something, or let's not air dirty laundry. It was their way of preserving their image while steamrolling the truth. I took a deep breath and sent Rachel the full story. Screenshots, bank receipts, their posts, the investigation, the voicemail from Tyler. Everything. She responded 10 minutes later. Holy crap. I had no idea. That's insane. I'm really sorry. It's not your fault, I replied. But thanks for listening. Anytime. If you ever need someone to back you up, I've got receipts too. Your mom's been trying to spin the story hard. She even told Andamo that you hacked the airline out of spite. That was when the last piece clicked. They weren't just ashamed. They were rewriting the narrative, painting me as unstable so they wouldn't have to admit what they did. It wasn't enough to stay silent. They were proactively smearing me to keep their hands clean. That wasn't just self-preservation. That was strategy. Fine. Two could play that game. Only I wasn't going to stoop to their level. I wasn't going to gossip or send out mass texts or make cryptic Facebook posts. I was going to be patient, strategic, precise. I started by building a list. Not a hit list, obviously. Just a map. Names of everyone in the family who had reached out during the fallout. Only Rachel, so far, and those who hadn't. Notes on what I'd heard, the lies they'd told, who they were told to, and who parroted them back. I called it the circle. At the center were my parents and Tyler. Then came the outer rings, aunts, uncles, cousins, even family friends. Not all of them deserved blame, but I needed to understand the terrain. Who blindly believed my mom's narrative? Who stayed neutral? Who might actually have my back if they heard the truth? Rachel helped fill in a few blanks. Apparently, my parents had told most people I'd suffered a mental health episode tied to work burnout. They'd framed my actions as impulsive and self-destructive. And people bought it, because of course they did. Tyler was the golden child, and I was the one who always kept things bottled up. That made me an easy scapegoat. So I did the one thing they never saw coming. I succeeded loudly. I ramped up my course promotion. I started guesting on podcasts, talking about building marketing systems as a solo entrepreneur. I got invited to speak at a virtual summit. My course sales doubled, then tripled. I posted behind-the-scenes videos of my workflow, shared testimonials, dropped tips on LinkedIn. I didn't mention the family drama once, but I made sure anyone watching knew one thing. I was doing just fine. Then I did something else. Something subtle. I bought a condo. It wasn't huge, 2 bedrooms, high ceilings, big windows, nothing fancy. But it was mine. No roommates. No landlords. Just me, a mortgage, and a key. I posted a single photo on Instagram. A moving box, a mug of coffee, and the caption, "New chapter." My parents didn't like that. I know because my Uncle Dave, the only one besides Rachel who had shown even a sliver of empathy, texted me a week later. "Your mom asked if you were trying to make a statement with the condo. I told her you're just moving on." That was true, but I was also laying a foundation. Here's where it gets interesting. Around early March, I got a notice from the fraud division at my bank. The investigation had officially concluded. Because I'd filed the report promptly and provided clear documentation, the airline had fully refunded the transactions and was pursuing internal action against the travel agency my mom used. Apparently, there had been multiple instances of sketchy third-party payments, and they were cracking down hard. I wasn't liable for a dime. But more importantly, my parents were now on a watch list for travel-related identity fraud. That's when the opportunity came. I got a call from a private client, a big one. They were launching a lifestyle platform tied to travel, wellness, and digital entrepreneurship. Think fancy retreats and productivity workshops in exotic locations. They wanted me to help design their funnel and ad sequence. Big contract. High visibility. They were planning a soft launch at a domestic resort that spring, a kind of friends and family test event before going public. And here's the kicker. They offered me a +1. Now, I wasn't petty enough to invite Tyler just to uninvite him. But I was thoughtful enough to send out a small press release to my LinkedIn and professional circles, announcing my role in the launch. The post included a photo of the resort, a shout-out to the team, and the dates. 2 days later, my dad's name popped up on my phone. I didn't answer. The next day, Mom texted, "Saw your update. Looks amazing. Any chance Tyler could attend as a guest? He's been working so hard lately. Would be great exposure." I stared at the screen for a long moment before responding. "The event is invite only, Mom. Besides, isn't he still recovering from my breakdown? She didn't respond. That silence told me everything. They weren't just hoping to ride my success. They were still trying to leverage it. Still trying to use my progress as a way to boost Tyler's image. Still trying to pretend they hadn't thrown me under the bus just months earlier. But I was done playing the grateful son. Instead, I started building something bigger. I launched a newsletter, something personal. I called it Quiet Wins. Every week, I wrote about lessons I'd learned from rebuilding after betrayal. No names, no dirty laundry. Just honest, vulnerable insights. My audience grew fast. People connected with it. Some even emailed me their own stories about family tension, toxic siblings, stolen money. I wasn't alone. And then, I started getting messages from people in my extended family. An older cousin, a second aunt, even a former babysitter. All of them said the same thing, in one form or another. I always wondered why you seemed so distant at family events. Now I get it. They always talked about you like you were cold. I see now it was self-preservation. Your parents made it seem like you were unstable. I'm sorry I believed them. Each one was a pin in the balloon of their fake narrative. And I wasn't even trying. I never once asked for anyone to choose sides. I just told the truth. Quietly. With receipts. Now, here's where the chessboard really starts shifting. I found out through Rachel that Tyler was trying to launch a YouTube channel. Something about mental health and travel. Probably inspired by his European awakening. But according to her, it wasn't going well. His videos were all over the place. No structure. No story. Just scattered monologues and forced influencer vibes. He even tried to use some of my copy from my website, word for word. I filed a takedown. It was approved in 48 hours. He sent me an email after that. The subject line was, "Seriously?" The body just said, "You're actually trying to ruin me now. Congrats. You win. Hope it was worth it." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because this wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was just me moving my pieces into place. And when the final move came, they wouldn't even see it coming. The thing about revenge is that it always looks better when it's wearing a suit. Theatrics are satisfying in theory. The shouting match, the door slam, the viral call-out. But the most devastating revenge? It's patient, dignified. It leaves no fingerprints. By the time spring rolled around, my world looked entirely different. The second course had surpassed expectations. I'd signed 2 more consulting clients on monthly retainers and finally hit the income milestone I'd been chasing since I left my old agency job. And this time, it came without the constant exhaustion or compromise. I didn't owe anyone a percentage. I didn't need validation from investors or praise from people who had always made me feel invisible. Everything I had, I'd built with my own hands. Meanwhile, Tyler's channel stalled. Rachel sent me a screenshot. One of his vlogs had gotten 4 views in 2 weeks. Another had a single comment. Try being original for once. Ouch. The real turning point came in April, though, and I didn't have to lift a single finger to make it happen. I got a call from a former client, Beth. She ran a boutique travel business and had recently landed a high-profile contract with a luxury airline brand that was doing a collaboration with, wait for it, my parents' favorite travel agency. Apparently, after their incident, the agency had been flagged in a few international systems for lax security and multiple fraud reports. Their reputation took a hit. Quietly, but it rippled. Didn't you say your parents had some weird situation with them last year? Beth asked. Their names actually came up in a meeting I had with our legal team. There's a note in the system about a flagged ticket under your account. It's not public info, but people in the industry talk. I gave a short laugh. Yeah, that was them. She paused. So it's all true. Every word. That same week, I got an email from a local financial seminar asking if I'd speak about building boundaries with family and money. Apparently, they'd read one of my Quiet Wins newsletters and thought I'd be perfect for the closing keynote. I almost said no. I didn't want to turn my personal life into a stage, but something about it felt right. Like closing a loop. I accepted. The talk was small, maybe 40 people in a rented library event space. I told the story in pieces, no names, no drama. Just the facts. How easy it is to fall into the role of family ATM. How financial abuse often hides behind guilt trips and childhood loyalty. How the hardest part isn't cutting ties, but grieving the version of your family you hoped you'd had. People cried. People clapped. A few people hugged me afterward. But here's where everything came full circle. 1 week later, I got a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A physical letter, in Mom's handwriting. Justin, we heard from a few people that you've been talking about us. I won't lie, it hurt. We didn't see things the way you did at the time, but we never thought you'd go public. I guess we didn't realize how deeply we hurt you, or how long it had been building up. I still think you went too far. But I also know we made mistakes. We should have never used your card. We should have asked. We should have respected your boundaries. I don't know if we'll ever fix this, but I'm sorry. Love. Mom. There was no apology from Dad. No message from Tyler. Just her, trying to rewrite the ending one last time. I folded the letter and slid it into the same drawer where I'd kept their Christmas card. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry. Not anymore. But because I was free. And part of being free meant not picking up old chains just because they jingled a little softer now. Tyler tried to contact me again a month later. It wasn't an apology. It was a pitch. He'd started working with a small startup that wanted to partner with influencers to grow their platform. He said he thought I'd be a great face for the brand, that it would be a nice way to patch things up while leveraging both our audiences. I read the message twice before replying. Hey, I appreciate the offer, but I don't mix family and business anymore. Best of luck. He didn't reply. The final move, the one I'd waited for, came during the summer. My parents hosted their annual 4th of July cookout, the one they'd always made a huge deal about. For the first time in years, I wasn't invited. But Rachel was. She told me everything. Apparently, during dinner, someone, a distant cousin, made a joke about how Justin's probably off hosting a masterclass in revenge. Everyone laughed, except my mom. She got quiet. Real quiet. Then she said, he always was dramatic. He never knew how to forgive. And Rachel, bless her, leaned in and said, or maybe he finally learned how to stop pretending it didn't hurt. Nobody spoke for a long time after that. I spent that 4th of July on the balcony of my condo, sipping iced coffee and watching fireworks from 3 neighborhoods away. My phone buzzed a few times with holiday wishes from friends. Not family, just people who knew me, the real me, who didn't ask for anything in return. And for the first time in a long, long time, I didn't feel bitter. I didn't feel angry. I felt done. Revenge wasn't the freeze at the airport gate. It wasn't the fraud report or the social fallout or the lecture in front of strangers. It was this, knowing they could no longer touch me. That their version of me, the obedient one, the convenient one, the silent one, was gone for good. I stood there a while, letting the silence settle, before heading back inside. And as I closed the balcony door behind me, I smiled. Let them rewrite the story all they want. I already published the truth.